right, so I just want you to look at this ad real quick and tell me if you think it's appropriate.
Okay.
Okay, this is an ad for AIDS and it ran in France.
Oh my gosh.
Gross.
Repulsive. Sick.
I don't know if it's an entirely effective tool. I mean, it certainly gets your attention, but it took me a long time to realize what the ad was for.
It's kind of hard to get past the whole shock content, I think, to actually have it geared towards anything.
I think at some point, you become desensitized to all that. And
it's a question of if something is effective, you can make a judgment about whether or not you want to risk offending other people. If it saves lives, perhaps you want to do that, but I don't think these ads, they really know how effective they are.
Shock advertising is used quite often in social marketing, and the premise being that the end justifies the means.
The premise with shock advertising is that, oh, I'm going to grab your attention, and you're then going to either go out and buy it because you've paid attention, or you're going to talk about it to your friends and create brand awareness for the product or the service. But what really happens with shock advertising is that you can get really ticked off. You're just repelled by the creative, or the actual creativity may be so powerful that you actually forget to go ahead and complete the transaction, so to speak, to buy the product or to buy into the messaging.
One that comes to mind is the PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and there's a print ad, a poster that shows a gorgeous model in an evening gown, and she's holding up a skinned fox. And it's very shocking and upsetting, and yes, they're making a strong point, and it's very clever. It's a very smart ad. It's riveting, but to me, it's adding to the stimulus load, the negative stimulus load that we all carry around, in the hopes of relieving violence. So they're creating a violent ad to tell us not to support violence.
How close does a biker have to be before you see them? Here, here, or here? Think. Take longer to look for bikes.
That's scary.
Yeah. Fear.
Yeah, made me jump. The call to action basically gave you directions on what you should do. Do the ends justify the means? This type of shock advertising, is it going to forward their cause?
I would like to think that it would, but how many advertisements do you have to see for drinking and driving? And then there's still how many people who die every year? Yeah. People still think that they're invincible.
Is shock advertising ethical or not? Well, it does come down to the specific content. Another way to look at it, of course, is what's the purpose of the ad? And we see that a lot of shock advertising is for public health issues, for safety issues. And I suppose the creators of those ads might argue that our purpose is very good. Like, it's ethically a good thing to try and get people to stop smoking or to stop drinking and driving. So if we take if we're a little bit shocking in the commercial, maybe that's okay because we have a larger, better purpose.
I think agencies, just like individuals, have to have ethical boundaries. They have to have measurable limits to what they are and aren't willing to do. If the premise is that, well, we have to shock in order to get attention, in order to have people pay attention to our message, well, then that means necessarily you're going to have to get more and more and more extreme along the way. We're already at the point in editorial content in television where, kids can turn on the TV at 9 o'clock and see everything that we would never want them to see in real life. It's okay to see it on TV. And so advertising, of course, riding the crest of that, same thing. It just has to become more and more extreme if all you're going for is getting attention. The fact is, there's getting attention and then there's motivating, and they are two quite separate psychological principles. So you might have achieved the goal of being noticed, but not at all have touched your goal of motivating behavior.
Sick 'em Rex.
Pants. Unbelievable underwear.
So, what do you feel on that one?
Stupid. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
From a guy's perspective, I think that's funny. It might not be that funny for women, but sick 'em Rex.
Part of it doesn't seem like it's shock advertising, actually. I don't have like that instant like pain or that instant fear or that feeling that I got with the other ones. It's not the same.
One ad that I found shocking was actually on the Super Bowl 2 years ago. It was for Audi. And the setup was a beautiful French villa, you know, this long shot coming up the driveway, beautiful building and all. Then a camera went into the bedroom, big master bedroom with there's a guy sleeping in a silk pajamas, you know, very, very elegant and everything. And he wakes up and he looks down. It was shocking through the creativity, and I think it was an example of a way of using shock in a good way. There are also marketers, or let's call it especially social marketing, trying to deal with difficult subject matter, like child abuse, like drug use. You know, if you deal with it straight up and show what can really happen, you know, is that shock advertising, or is that really just showing what it's really like? Perhaps they're just realistic advertising on a really difficult subject.
Yeah, my parents think I'm sleeping at your house. Yeah, I'm just jumping in the shower. Okay, bye. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's like a mini horror film. I think that it's more than don't do meth. I think that to me, it's almost like reach out to your parents or something like that instead of lie to them about what you're doing. Kind of thing. Yeah, like I'm just vibrating right now. It's really disturbing.
At the end of the day, marketing is designed to compel the consumer to do something, to take action. If the consumer does take that action, then the marketing is successful. The goal of marketing isn't to shock. You know, shock is a means to an end. The whole definition of shock advertising is that it's outside the standard, the norm, the acceptable norm. It's, you know, it pushes the boundaries to do something outrageous.
I do feel that shock advertising leads to desensitization. How can it not? Because in order for you to shock, you have to show something that hasn't been showed before. And so each time you move the bar in that direction, you're showing something that's a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse. And so everything that has preceded that now becomes the norm. Honestly, I'm half waiting for the day when I hear that there's going to be a reality show called Death Watch. What are the limits? What are the limits that we haven't, you know, already been kind of treading on the boundaries?
Again, it's relative to what society's standards and norms are, and where do they go? I don't know. I don't know where they will go.